I am Jill Hobson, K12 Institutional Program Manager for IMS Global, and let me introduce with me today Kara Jenkins, Marketing Communications Director. For those of you who may not be familiar with IMS Global, we are a nonprofit member collaborative. Our members include leading districts, state organizations, higher ed institutions, and educational technology suppliers working together to innovate and improve the EdTech ecosystem to enable better learning for better learning technology through plug-and-play integration, open architecture, and the assurances that come with IMS Global certification. Each member district has evolved their own unique strategy and approach based on their unique situation. Yet all of these districts are collaborating on the open IT and integrated curriculum architecture that enables this flexibility. And now let me welcome our guest speakers for today's webinar. Jamey Hynds, Director of Business Intelligence for Katy Independent School District in Texas, and Rob Stratton, Executive Director for Infrastructure Services for the School District of Lee County in Florida. And I'm going to invite each guest to just briefly introduce themselves, tell a little bit about their district, and just make a quick opening remark, to tell us about their district's environment. Let me begin with Jamey.
Hello, this is Jamey Hynds. I'm Director of Business Intelligence at Katy ISD. We're a fast growth district on the west side of Houston. We've got just under about 78,000 students. We're a bring your own device district, and we've spent the past several years working toward building a device agnostic kind of online learning environment for our students and our staff. Currently, we've got a single sign-on solution called Unified Workspace that we've branded as My Katy, and that's personalized to each student and each staff member. And we use Canvas for our learning management system. We use PowerSchool eSchool Plus for our student information system. We've really worked hard the past few years trying to bring our learning apps, our internal apps, our administrative apps, and of course our online textbooks into a plug-and-play ecosystem. And our goal with this kind of during every step of the process has really been to take advantage of, interoperability standards every chance we get, and just to make sure that we're building a platform that's sustainable and scalable and secure. So.
Thanks, Jamey. Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about your district?
Sure. I am Rob Stratton. I want to thank Jill for the promotion. I am actually a coordinator for instructional technology. I live on the curriculum side of the house, and our district, we are in Southwest Florida, 2 hours south of Tampa. We have approximately 92,000 students, and we are a one-to-one take-home device in grades 6 through 12 with Chromebooks. And in our elementary school, we are implementing a more dense availability of devices to the students. So we're around 1.5 to 2 devices per student at the elementary level. Our ecosystem centers around the Google environment with Google Classroom as our primary LMS. We do have some Blackboard users as well within district. Our strategy around content management is really using our Learning Object Repository Safari Montage to store content. And the key there is the IMS standard of Common Cartridge to allow that content to flow into Safari Montage and then directly to our Google Classroom.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
So learning analytics are a key tool in moving to a student-centered approach to learning with the myriad of platforms and applications and content publishers that are being used in education today. Aggregating these data can be challenging. Jamey, can you tell us about how Katy is doing the work of building a data dashboard? And I'll pass it to you at this point.
Okay. Okay, well, we started building our analytics solution in early 2014. At the time, we purchased Tableau for our presentation layer. Since then, we've built an enterprise data warehouse to merge all of our data silos, and we've developed an analytics portal for people to use to access the data. Our goal with the platform has always been to take, just all the massive amounts of data that's spread across the district and try to turn that into actionable information. Let's see. I'm going to use the term "we" quite a bit. When I say that, just understand I'm not referring to my department or the technology department. I'm really talking about the entire district. We've worked closely with every stakeholder group, most of all our teaching and learning department and our assessment departments, just to make sure that what ends up getting published out is what each user group needs and wants. So what you're looking at is our performance management portal. It's what we call a PMP. This portal allows us to limit what dashboards users can see. We can get feedback from them. We're able to use it to impersonate users for support. And it really just allows us to put all of our content into a single secure place. Whenever we talk about or train on analytics, it really makes it simple because we can say to anyone in the district, just go to the PMP, and everybody knows what we're talking about. I usually do a live demonstration, but I apologize. We were flooded out, so we don't have offices at this point. We're all kind of sharing space throughout the second story of our building, so I'm just going through slides. All right, the first dashboard I'm going to show you is our application use over time dashboard. This allows our educational technology group to hone in on the campuses that are taking advantage of certain apps so they can focus on the campuses that may need help and then provide professional development for them. This also helps that group with purchasing decisions since they're the final purchasing authority on our educational software. We're working to try to bring in the price per student for each app as an additional metric for this visual. We're also hoping to eventually leverage Caliper from IMS to improve on what we've got now. Just as a side note, as we go through these, realize that the live dashboards have got pop-ups, they've got additional information, they're all drillable, filterable, and by clicking on the dashboard or by using the drop-downs, you can really change what you're looking at. If anyone's ever interested in a more detailed explanation or a live demo, we're always open to sharing everything we've got. We really try to learn from what other districts and organizations are doing in terms of analytics. This is our campus dashboard. This is just a demo version of the first dashboard we built. It really has a lot of functionality. Our campus administrators are able to use this to go and get just instant demographic, attendance, discipline, assessment data for their campus, and then they can filter it on any of their special populations or on grade levels. This also allows them kind of to compare their special populations at the campus and at the district level. Using the data export feature on this dashboards, users are able to get failure reports, assessment data, special population counts, any kind of list they want of their students, really all from the same place, and it replaces over 20 separate reports, custom reports that we previously had to use. This is a storyboard that we put together just actually to answer some questions that a group was having. Once we built it, we kind of realized we might as well go ahead and publish it out to our campuses. And what this does is it actually, this is just one of them, but it has 5 separate visualizations. You can see across the top there's 5 different boards you can look at. And it allows someone to evaluate teacher experience, teacher attendance, and student performance at the district or the campus level, and even uses district maps in some of the visualizations to really provide a good picture of how teacher experience impacts learning across the district. This is our public dashboard. This is available to anyone on our Katy ISD's homepage. It actually uses over 100 separate visualizations to provide transparency. It does this for our demographics, our academic performance, human resources, and even our monthly budget information. This dashboard is currently getting over 25,000 hits each year, and we've just gotten a whole lot of really good feedback from it. This is just a second visualization, another screen from our public dashboard showing our taxable values in the district over time. If you look kind of at the bottom left of the menu, you'll see something called feeder patterns. This is the newest addition to the dashboard. We just made it a couple of months ago. And this is the actual interactive feeder pattern visualization. For large districts that go through boundary modifications every year like us and add multiple campuses every year, feeder patterns are one of the most requested pieces of information, both internally and from the public that we get. We've always had, a PDF of the feeder patterns available, but for whatever reason, it's always very confusing to internal and external folks. This dashboard allows a user essentially to click on a campus and instantly see what campuses feed into that building and where that campus feeds into. This is a really simple but great example, I think, of how data visualization helps people understand the concepts faster and more completely than simple text. I would like to tell you that this is a live dashboard, but currently this is a mock-up of our RTI dashboard that's currently in development. We're aiming to launch this next semester for several of our RTI teams. It provides lots of visualizations and drill downs for a single student. The intention is to bring nearly every data point, both current and historical, that the district has for any particular student into a single location for our RTI team, or our response to intervention teams to have when they're determining how to help students. As with all our dashboards, it'll be drillable. It's going to provide lots of information and pop-ups. And our RTI group has been working with us for over a year to get this built. This is another piece of the RTI dashboard. As we've gone through the process of trying to build a data culture in Katy, we've really learned, I think, the importance of tailoring each visualization to the group who's using the information. Our finance folks are able to use and process, extremely dense, complicated dashboards, while our superintendents usually want high-level, simple dashboards that they can use in meetings and presentations. There's no real one-size-fits-all for data analytics. The most important thing that we've learned, I think, is really to spend a lot of time listening to people as you build, and doing a lot of back and forth with mock-ups before you start developing. I know this has been just an extremely fast run through, but I hope that gives you an idea of what Katy ISD is starting to do with our analytics solution and our dashboards.
Thanks, Jamey. I appreciate it. And I'm just going to check in very quickly while we're thinking about transition with Kara to see if there are any questions that we should address right now.
The only question that we have is whether or not the recording will be available for a later date. And yes, we will share that recording after today's event.
Great, thanks, Kira. And so now, Rob, you know, not all data is readily available. How has Lee County been working collaboratively with your vendor partners to help them understand the vision you have and the need for better learning analytic data?
Jill, thank you for having us on today. And you know, the work that we are doing with our vendors is really trying to capture the learning that's happening in our classrooms around the digital learning objects that students are accessing. And we have worked tirelessly with them to provide us data that we can visualize for teachers so that they can make decisions in their classroom real time about what's going on in the classroom. And the system that I'm going to show you today is what we built to support. It was primarily built around our individualized learning that we are doing with Renaissance and Compass Learning. And we wanted to give our teachers an easy way to monitor and manage the learning that's happening in their classrooms.
Why don't you give us a look at what you've been up to?
Sure. So let me go ahead and just share my screen with you. There we go. So the first thing that I want to mention is that, you know, we require and ask of our vendor partners to become engaged with IMS. The use of open standards allows all of us to play nicely and to build an ecosystem for our teachers and students that's functional and takes and leverages the best aspects of all of our applications. So when we built our tool for them, we made sure that we focused on IMS standards as well. So we called this system Compass Reports, and over time, and even in today's reality, we are bringing application data from multiple providers, not just Compass Learning. But the first thing that we did is we wanted to rely on the one roster standard to roster students to teachers. So when teachers access Compass Reports, which is available via an LTI connection, their student rosters populate out to the side, just like we expect our application providers to do as well. So we use LTI, we use one roster, and then you'll also see case embedded within this application as well. So if you can imagine a classroom teacher, as students are working on digital objects at any time, anywhere, at home or at school, they want to know, are they completing the work that I've asked them to do? So we wanted to give them a tool that answered really specific questions that they were asking every day with just a click or two. So the first question that every teacher wants to know is, are they doing the work that I've asked them to do? So we built a visualization so they can come in and look. Here's what my students did yesterday. This is what they've done for the last 7 days, and that's the data point that we really get them to focus on. And as we get data from Compass Learning every night, it's a nightly feed that feeds into our system, we wanted to visualize all those completed learning objects for the teacher so they could make decisions on, was yesterday a good day? Was yesterday a bad day? What are the changes I need to make today to make learning better in my classroom? And then we also pull out metrics around their performance as well. So you can see, here's the average class score for my students for the last 7 days. And then their next question, Jill, is always, well, who are these students that are represented in this visualization? So we gave them a report that just said, hey, here's the information about your students as it relates to that pie chart that you looked at. And then we talk about strategies to improve this data every day. We want digital learning to be impactful and we think digital objects are telling our teachers a story, but a lot of times we're just not listening. And we want to give them tools to make that, that story heard. The other thing that we're doing with our teachers is providing them standards mastery. So as students are taking assessments and specific make improvements and fine-tune what's happening in their classrooms. So with this report, they're able to identify by standard, what are my small group opportunities, what are the areas that I need to work on with each student. And then the other thing we do with all these reports is, you can see they're all exportable to Excel.
Rob, your voice is cutting out a little bit, and I think that your connection dropped for about 2 minutes. So if you wouldn't mind going back to the previous screen.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
You're fine now.
All right.
Thanks.
So the other data that we wanted to share with the teachers is students are working on individualized learning paths that are assigned to them based on a STAR assessment that students are taking. One simple assessment, and then learning is aligned to that assessment. So we built a visualization for them, and you can see it right here, that shows them student progress around those learning paths. And this student is working on reading learning paths, so let me scroll down to reading learning paths. And you can see that right here, the student has is 23% finished with this learning path and maintaining 100% average. And then they can actually drill in and actually look at the learning path and what are the objects the student has been working on and what do they have to do next. This whole tool is designed around helping teachers understand what's going on in their classrooms or outside of the classroom with the digital objects and digital resources that we're providing them. We really wanted to give them a tool to drive them towards digital learning, because if they don't know what's happening with all these applications, they lose sight on how do they make improvements in their classroom and how do they help their students achieve better. And as I was showing you, that's the standards report, and I had referenced the case standard. You'll see that we're bringing in our state standards, so they can really see this is what the standard is, and here's how your students are doing. Let me jump out of the presentation, out of my live demo. There we go.
Thanks, Rob. It's really interesting to see how both of you have interpreted, both districts have interpreted learning analytics and responded to the needs of your users in your district. What advice would you give to a district that's looking to take a first step into some learning analytics? And really that's for both of you, Jamey or Rob, both. What kind of advice would you give to districts just getting started?
Well, this is Jamey. I think the most important thing is kind of what we're doing now. Go see what other school districts are doing. See what fits in, and start small. Start with for us, we found that starting with a single specific decision that you're trying to make or change that you're trying to make in the district, how can you do that and then really focus toward that? And then the second thing I think is to really focus on, as you build out the architecture of applications and learning objects within your district, think about how best to do that so that it's a manageable, and that's why I go back to interoperability and a plug-and-play atmosphere or environment that allows you to build the robust, online learning environment that I think everybody's trying to get to, that then gives you the ability to get to the analytics portion of it.
Mm-hmm. And this is Rob, and what I would recommend as well, that engage your users, whether it's administrators or teachers, and find out the problems that they're trying to solve, and then tackle them one by one. The tool that we built was around to solve a problem that our teachers are having around a specific implementation, and listening to them about having to learn multiple applications to get a sense of what their students are doing in their classrooms. That's where we started. We really wanted to give them an easy way to visualize what's happening in their classrooms.
Great.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then I was going to add that then it's the other piece of it is to work with your vendor partners and get to know the applications that you're using, and then understand the data types that you can get from them. Because sometimes we just don't know what type of information we can get from the learning objects that our students are using, and listen to them and then work with them to provide that data back to you.
Absolutely. Let me turn to Kara at this point and see where we are with questions from the participants.
Sure. There actually are a few questions, and just a reminder, if you do have any questions, you can chat them to us or submit them via the Q&A. So this one goes back to Jamey when you were describing your RTI dashboards. Question is, will the RTI dashboard show aggregate views?
It will show aggregate views and then be drillable down to the individual, if we're talking about assessment, down to the individual assessment, down to the individual item, and then how as it relates to our Texas standards and such. So yes, it starts at an aggregate level and then is drillable.
Okay, great. And then
and just so you understand, that is a specific. That is at current. We're building out that as a specific student dashboard. So you'd select a student and see that. That's phase one. The second phase is actually at a building level that will be used as a selection tool for as they try to identify their RTI students. So that's kind of phase two.
Okay, thanks, Jamey. And now I'll turn it back over. Question for Rob. When you are doing your demo, does this include time on task data for learning applications other than
So currently, what we're doing is we're focused on one specific implementation, and that's around our individualized learning path, and that happens to be delivered from Compass Learning. The data that you saw within that application is only pulling completed activities. We wanted to make sure that we gave teachers the clearest view, and we weren't looking for how many clicks or how much time spent in the application. It is on-task time inside applications and then completing those resources. The intent of this tool that we built them is to begin bringing data from other applications as well. And in fact, you saw the assessment data that we were pulling from Renaissance for STAR. And then we'll begin working with, we have a project right now that we're working with Safari Montage to bring data from our learning objects that they're accessing in the lore using the caliper standard. So that's the ongoing project that we're doing right now. And the intent is, over time, bring all learning objects into the reporting system.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a few questions that we're asking both of you to address. The first is, can you speak to some best practices for introducing data best practices with your staff and with parents?
The most difficult part, I think, of the entire process of moving to having a data culture within the district is getting people on board to really utilize it. And we figured that out early on because we sat down and we thought that we knew what was going to be the best way to bring people in. So we built something that was very powerful, very general, in that every single building would be able to use it. And we found that we did not get that usage right off, and we provided ongoing professional development over a period of a year as people started to kind of get the grasp of our ability to bring the data to them in a kind of a new way. We started getting specific requests, and that's really why my first recommendation was find those, and I think Rob said the same thing, find those specific needs and start addressing them, and from there it almost grows outward as opposed to trying to build a massive solution that's going to solve everything, because it takes time to get people involved, and the best way to do that is to build something that's very specific and is successful, because then everything kind of grows from that. Over time, it's gotten to where now we have more requests for things than we can handle, and our usage has gone up by 100 times. But it took several years to get to that. So, communication, constant communication, getting up in front of people and talking about it so they know where you're trying to get the district, and then just starting with those specific use case scenarios and solving them. And once you do that right, then word gets out. So.
And then I would just add that the idea of making the tool so that it is taking work away from people and giving them a resource that provides so much value back to them that they are eager to use it. And the work that we do, and Jamey's right, it's about professional development. We will spend an entire day out at a school meeting with every teacher and kind of going through the tool with them to show them this is how you use it, to make sure that they understand the data that they're getting, the information that's being provided, and then how best to implement it in their classroom. And so, we spend a lot of time doing that and providing all types of resources around the basic functionality. We want it to be simple and easy so that they're eager to use it.
Okay, thank you. And another question for both Jamey and Rob. Would you speak to how the data that you're collecting will lead or could lead to student choice?
You got it, Jamey?
Go ahead, Rob. Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say the work that we have right now, I can see in the future, because we haven't built out for our reporting system yet, the student view. But the idea that students understand their learning environment and get to choose, as you saw within the reporting system, here's all these resources that are aligned to your learning. Where do you want to start working? What is your greatest need and interest? And our long-term hope is that the caliper standard will allow us to return data to the student to visualize for them what type of learning objects provide them with the greatest opportunity for learning, and what type of objects do they demonstrate the greatest gains from. And our hope is that we can use that data to give students the ability to pick and choose resources instead of teachers always directing them to the specific resource to use.
And I think from my perspective, what we're doing is trying to provide as much information. We're kind of in the same boat as far as building toward having the student be able to have that view of their entire career and give them and their guardians, parents, a perspective on where they're at, where they've been, and hopefully predictive of, this is where they're headed based off what we've seen. But I think when you're talking about student choice, and this is really, I think that goes back to, I saw it the last time I was at the IMS meeting. I saw some just incredible things where they're using different applications that are designed for students, and as those students are working through their curriculum, it's deciding, giving them choice on where they want to go, and also evaluating, how that student's moving throughout that particular curriculum, and we want to get to that point, but I don't know if what we're talking about here is really specific to student choice, as far as what I was talking about.
Okay, thank you. And another question: How did you manage the transition between the old non-interoperable platform and the new plug-and-play system? In particular, how did you convince stakeholders to let go of existing highly customized products?
Lots of very tense meetings with vendors mostly. I think districts have to get to the realization that the expansion in learning objects and integrations with those is moving too fast and growing too fast to keep up with from a technology perspective, from a money perspective, from a staffing perspective, without getting to standardization. And once you do that, once you come to that realization from a school district standpoint and you realize where you want to get to, the next step is sitting down with vendors and saying, this is where we have to get to. This is what you have to do, and then setting up, a collaborative roadmap with them a lot of times. And then with new vendors saying, this is our standard, and if you want a contract, then this is what's going to have to be done. So that was, we started that 3 years ago probably, and once you start those conversations and start putting that language into your contracts, really informing your instructional divisions, your ed tech divisions, your technology folks, and getting them all working together on that, it happens, and we've seen a huge transformation from the non-interoperable standards to really using the IMS standards to our benefit, and it makes a huge difference. It's getting information, it's getting curriculum out to teachers and to kids in minutes, hours, a day, as opposed to the old 4 to 6 weeks and being able to do it just, in massive quantities instead of one by one.
And I'll just add that I think our teachers feel the benefit of the open standards, and they may not know them by name, but they know them by function. And when they're having discussions, when schools are having discussions now with vendors, I mean, we've had that tough discussion already with them, and for district-wide implementations, we lay out the expectation, and now we hear teachers going, well, does your content live inside Safari Montage? Can I get to your application from ClassLink? And they may not know LTI, One Roster, Common Cartridge, but they feel the benefit of all of those standards in their classrooms and in their use of applications, and they know what functionality they want, so they start asking for it. So the work up front was to demonstrate to them the benefit of the standards, and then they start asking for it themselves. And this year we onboarded at least 7 to 8 new applications focused around reading, with the requirement of an SSO solution, preferably LTI compliant, and One Roster ready. And all of our content providers were able to do that with the exception of one. And we were up and running day one with all of those applications. Teachers were ready. They had them before the access to the applications before the students walked on campus. And then we're now hearing, can't you just make this one do that? Can't you just make that happen? And the teachers feel the benefit. Everyone feels the benefit of these standards, and like I said, they're asking for it.
Okay, thank you both very much. No further questions that have come in from the audience at this time. So Jill, turn it back to you.
All right. Well, I have just one other question for you, and that is, if you could look in your crystal ball and predict what you'll be doing with analytics in, let's say, 3 years, what would it be?
I think from our perspective, it's putting the information into the students and the parents' hands, and having everything from the content available, 24/7 to them, to also them understanding where they're at with every part of their core curricula. I mean, that's really the goal, and then to have that, I don't know if it's 3 years, maybe 5 years, to have that core curriculum really wrapped around and personalized to that student, and not just in one subject or one grade level, but at a K-12 level.
And then I think that in time, the learning that's happening in the classroom will be reflected towards the district's long-term goals. That we will be able to look at what's happening in every classroom, and the data flow will move through the district in such a way that the superintendent will know, I'm on track to meet this goal, I'm on track to meet this goal, and every classroom, every teacher, every student will understand that what we do today in our classroom impacts the district's long-term goal. And students will know that the learning I do today are helping me achieve my goals.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, I'll just make one quick little check with Kara. I didn't see anything else come in that we needed to answer for the whole group, but just checking with her in case something came through chat.
No, I think we can move on. Thanks, Jill.
All right. So as we begin to wrap up today's webinar, I just want to point out to you, with IMS members from 50 school districts and growing, including half of the top 10 largest school districts, representation from 45 U.S. state departments of education, and over 180 leading K12 suppliers, our collaborative is leading the effort to rapidly advance an educational technology ecosystem where students and teachers have better options for digital tools that work together and result in more effective teaching and learning. You can see some logos of the different districts represented here. Our innovative leadership networks work together to produce resources of benefit to the entire K12 community, and we encourage you to access those resources at imsglobal.org/K12. Including in those resources are recordings from previous webinars and related resources, case studies, articles, videos, and more to help districts of all sizes begin to transition to a fully integrated ecosystem, information about opportunities to collaborate with IMS members, and procurement resources including RFP language and checklists that districts can use when procuring digital platforms, apps, and tools. And you'll find those at imsglobal.org/K12. Ensuring your educational technology tools are IMS Globally certified is the best way to establish a plug-and-play ecosystem that allows all of your tools and content to work together. If you're just starting out, you should review some of the resources IMS Global has developed to help you know what to ask for from your vendors and what to include in your RFPs. IMS Global offers assistance to our members who need help or guidance in determining their needs. And you'll be able to find this information on our website. That big green arrow is pointing you towards the product directory. The IMS Certified Product Directory contains the official listing of products that have passed IMS Global interoperability testing and certification. Visit the product directory to see the many certified products. I do want to take this opportunity to thank both Rob and Jamey for sharing their knowledge and experiences in learning analytics with us today. It's been a very exciting and energizing conversation. Thank you to both of you, our guest speakers. And then I want to encourage everyone to consider joining us for the next 2 webinars in this series. So please visit imsglobal.org/events to go ahead and register. Registration for the next 2 in the series is available now. And you'll see the dates there for the upcoming webinars on screen. Please check out these 2 valuable resources on the IMS Global website and our K12 Playbook that are related to today's webinar. Harnessing the Abundance of Digital Resources to Efficiently Personalize Learning. This is an article about Lee County schools. We encourage you to learn even more about the great things that are going on in Lee County schools. And Achieving a Seamless Plug-and-Play Ecosystem is a case study about Katy ISD. So we encourage you to look for both of those case studies so you can learn more about the school districts that have presented today. And so in closing, we just have a couple of action items to remind you of. Check out those 2 resources in the K12 Playbook, and then visit today's webinar detail page so you'll be able to gain access to all the resources that have been shared in today's session, as well as the recording from our webinar. And we thank you again for attending. Have a great day.